Imagine walking into a high-end corporate office in Beijing. You walk up to the front desk. The receptionist smiles warm at you. She looks you right in the eyes. When you start talking, she tilts her head slightly, just like a person who is really listening to what you have to say. Her skin has a soft, natural glow. Her chest quietly rises and falls as if she is breathing. When she hands you your visitor pass, her fingers brush against yours, and her skin feels warm. Exactly 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit, human body temperature. You finish your check-in, thank her, and walk to your meeting. You do not think twice about it. Here's the terrifying part. That receptionist was not a human being. She was a robot. Her skin was multi-layered biomimetic silicone. Her internal frame was built from aircraft-grade aluminum and carbon fiber. Inside her head, over 30 tiny electric motors were flexing and shifting, controlling micro-expressions around her eyes and mouth in real time. And no one in that lobby noticed. Right now, across China, this is no longer a science fiction movie. It is happening in real life, inside real buildings, in front of real people. While American tech giants like Tesla, Figure, and Boston Dynamics are spending billions building metal machines meant to lift boxes in warehouses, Chinese engineers are solving a completely different problem. They are building synthetic human beings, machines with warm skin, moist eyes, realistic hair, and AI brains trained to imitate human emotions so well that your brain stops giving you the warning sign that something is fake. To understand how China crossed this line before anyone else, you have to go back to 2016, to a university lab in Anhui province, where a team of researchers built a robot named Jia Jia. Jia Jia had a delicate, realistic face modeled after a young Chinese woman. She could hold basic conversations and make simple facial expressions, but she went viral across the internet for one specific moment. During an interview, a reporter leaned in a little too close to her face. Jia Jia paused, adjusted her expression, and said, "Do not come so near to me when you are talking. I feel uncomfortable." That clip blew up worldwide. It did not feel like a canned line from a basic computer program. It felt like a real social boundary from a real person. Jia Jia was built on a tiny university budget. She was never mass-produced. But she did something much more important. She proved that if you can get the human face right, people instantly change how they react to a machine. She set off a quiet spark across the Chinese tech world. Engineers looked at what one university team did with limited money and asked a simple question. What happens when we take this idea and put an entire manufacturing industry behind it? What started in that university lab in 2016 did not stay a research project for long. It moved straight to the factory floor. If you drive up to an industrial park in Dalian, China, you will find a facility run by a company called X Robots. From the outside, it looks like any standard tech factory. But inside, they are not assembling cars or assembling smartphones. They are manufacturing human bodies. Walking through the doors of this facility is a surreal experience. You see rows of female heads lined up on workbenches, arms hanging from ceiling racks, engineers sitting at workstations with fine tools, working on hyper-realistic faces under bright white lights. X-Robots set out with one goal, to build the most physically realistic humanoid androids on the planet. And to do that, they realized they could not treat a robot like a piece of machinery. They had to treat it like biology. Take the skin, for example. Standard plastic or cheap rubber immediately gives away a machine. Your eye spots it in half a second. X-Robots uses custom-formulated medical silicone engineered to match the density, flexibility, and light translucency of real human tissue. When light hits the cheek of one of these androids, it passes slightly through the top layer, just like real skin. Look closer, and the detail gets even more intense. They do not just paint on skin tones. Technicians manually add tiny freckles, faint moles, and subtle blue veins just beneath the silicone surface. Then comes the hair. Cheap wigs look fake instantly. So, workers at the facility stand over these silicone heads for days, taking real human hair and implanting it into the scalp, one single strand at a time. It takes weeks of manual labor for a single head. Then there are the eyes. Normal artificial eyes look flat and dead like a glass marble. The eyes in these androids are built with internal liquid layers that trap ambient light, creating the natural moisture and shine of a living human eye. In early 2026, another Chinese company called DroidUp took this even further with a robot named Moya. Moya is what engineers call a fully biomimetic humanoid. Inside Moya's frame is an active thermoregulation system. Small heating elements run along her limbs and face, keeping her outer silicone skin at a steady 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit. When you shake her hand, it is warm, soft, and realistic. Her chest moves in a quiet, irregular rhythm that mimics human breathing. Her eyes track your face using high-speed cameras concealed behind her pupils. And beneath her skin are dozens of micro actuators that produce micro expressions, the tiny half-second twitches around the eyes and lips that signal real emotion before a word is even spoken. These machines cost up to $173,000 each. They are custom-built, handcrafted, and mind-bendingly realistic. But making expensive custom androids for rich clients was only step one. The real shift happened when Chinese companies figured out how to bring this exact technology to the mass market. Up until recently, building a hyper-realistic humanoid robot was a multi-$100,000 project. That meant they were stuck in tech showcases, elite research labs, or luxury corporate headquarters. Then, a Beijing-based company called Robotics looked at the market and made a radical decision. They asked a very basic engineering question. What part of a humanoid robot actually matters to a human being? If you build a full walking humanoid, you need expensive balance sensors, heavy leg motors, massive battery packs, and complex joint mechanics. Legs are expensive, loud, heavy, and dangerous if the robot falls over. But human emotional connection does not happen at the knee joint or the ankle. It happens from the shoulders up. It lives in the tilt of the head, the warmth of the voice, the timing of a smile, and the subtle movement of the eyes. So, Noetics cut off the legs. They threw away the walking gear. They built their robots from the bust up, focusing every single dollar of their engineering budget entirely on the face, voice, and upper body presence. In late 2025, Noetics released a small companion model called Boomy for under $1,400. Shortly after, they unveiled a full-featured female interaction robot priced around $13,800, a tiny fraction of what full-body androids cost. At public trade expos in Beijing, these models sold out instantly. The buyers were not just wealthy tech collectors. They were nursing homes, corporate reception offices, retail chains, and ordinary families. Around the same time, a company from Shenzhen called Headform dropped a video of their new service robot, Xuan. When the video hit social media, millions of viewers insisted it was a fake. People commented that it was clearly an actress wearing a realistic mask or a computer-generated special effect. The company actually had to release follow-up videos showing the internal metal skeletal structure of the robot just to prove it was a real machine. Inside Xuan's face are over 30 micromotors working simultaneously. When you talk to her, she does not just speak back with a synthetic voice. She shows subtle curiosity. Her eyebrows tighten slightly if she hears a loud noise. Her mouth curves up into a soft, natural smile when you finish speaking. Her eyes hold focus on your face without that frozen, wide-eyed stare that usually ruins artificial faces. As of 2026, over 200 public venues across China, including hotel lobbies, city government offices, and hospital desks, have deployed Xuan as a full-time receptionist. By stripping away the unnecessary mechanics and perfecting the face, Chinese robotics companies did something Silicon Valley thought was years away. They turned synthetic human interaction into an affordable, off-the-shelf product. And that brings us directly to the reason Western engineers are watching all of this with growing anxiety. To understand why American engineers are unsettled by what is happening in China, you have to look at the massive strategic divide between Silicon Valley and Chinese robotics teams. In the United States, the philosophy behind humanoid robotics is driven almost entirely by utility, labor efficiency, and raw industrial output. When you look at Tesla's Optimus, Figure 01, or Boston Dynamics Atlas, you see machines designed for heavy work. They are built with exposed metal frames, visible wires, industrial carbon fiber, and flat glass sensor heads. They do not have faces. They do not have warm silicone skin. they do not smile at you. American companies like Tesla are building workers for automotive assembly lines and warehouses. Their goal is clear: build a durable machine that can lift 50 pounds, stack pallets, replace human labor in dangerous factories, and operate continuously without breaking down. To Silicon Valley, spending engineering time and millions of dollars making a robot's skin warm or adding artificial freckles feels like a useless distraction. Chinese robotics companies are taking the exact opposite approach. They realize that the biggest untapped market for robotics isn't just moving boxes in a warehouse. It is replacing human presence in the real world. Think about where human beings spend money: healthcare, elderly care, hotel check-ins, customer service desks, retail stores, and personal companionship. In these spaces, a cold, gray, industrial metal machine with a blank glass screen for a face feels threatening. It creates resistance. People do not want a metal skeleton taking their blood pressure or checking them into a hotel room. Chinese engineers realize that if you want a machine to work alongside people in public spaces, capability is only half the battle. Acceptance is the other half. By prioritizing physical warmth, facial expression, micro movements, and natural eye contact, China is building machines designed to slip seamlessly into human society without triggering fear or suspicion. They are creating a psychological bridge that makes humans comfortably accept a machine in spaces where only real people used to belong. There is also a massive supply chain reality behind this divide. China already controls the world's largest manufacturing base for precision micro actuators, custom silicone molding, electric motors, and high-density battery cells. Just as China used its manufacturing dominance to scale electric vehicles faster and cheaper than Western automakers, they are now using that exact same industrial pipeline to mass-produce synthetic human components at a scale Detroit or Silicon Valley cannot match. While the West is perfecting the mechanical strength of an industrial worker, China is scaling the emotional illusion of human presence. And as these hyper-realistic androids step out of the lab and into the real world, they are starting to change society in ways that go far beyond basic customer service. Here is what is easy to miss when you watch viral clips of these robots online. This is not a future project. It is already operating in the real world. In major Chinese cities, healthcare facilities and elder care homes are actively deploying biomimetic androids into daily service. China is currently facing one of the most severe demographic crises in modern history. The population is aging rapidly, birth rates have dropped, and there simply are not enough young human workers to care for millions of aging citizens. This is where synthetic presence steps in. In nursing homes using robots like Moya and Xuan, elderly residents interact with androids that never get tired, never lose patience, and never raise their voice. The robots sit by their beds, remind them to take medication, hold basic conversations, and mirror their emotional state through gentle facial expressions and warm physical contact. Psychological studies conducted in these care facilities revealed something fascinating and slightly unsettling. Many elderly patients form deep, genuine emotional attachments to these machines. Some reported feeling less lonely talking to a warm, attentive robot face than sitting alone in a room waiting for overworked human staff who only have a few minutes to spare. To a person struggling with isolation, the fact that the warmth in the robot's hand comes from an electric heating element instead of a bloodstream stops mattering. The feeling of being heard and noticed feels real. The same shift is happening in retail and hospitality. When a customer walks into a bank or a hotel, interacting with an expressive, human-like receptionist feels more personal than staring at an iPad screen on a stand, yet it costs the business a fraction of a human salary over time. The transition happens without public outcry or protest because the machine looks and feels like a natural part of the environment. This brings up a profound question that engineers, sociologists, and ethicists are scrambling to answer. When a synthetic machine can look you in the eyes, mirror your emotional state, hold your hand with warm skin, and make you feel completely understood, what happens to human relationships? Does artificial empathy replace real human connection, or does it simply fill a gap that modern society can no longer handle? China is proving that society will accept synthetic human presence much faster than anyone anticipated. And as these systems get smarter, softer, and cheaper every single year, The line separating real biological life from engineered machine presence is fading away completely. For decades, roboticists talked about the uncanny valley, that creepy, uncomfortable feeling you get when a machine looks almost human, but not quite. It was treated like an impossible wall, a line in design that engineers were warned never to cross, because if a robot looked too much like a person, human beings would instinctively reject it with fear and disgust. China took that warning, threw it away, and proved that the uncanny valley was not a permanent barrier at all. It was just an engineering problem waiting for better skin, warmer heat elements, faster facial motors, and smarter facial AI. Now, that valley has been crossed. The female androids walking out of factories in Dalian and Shanghai are no longer experimental novelties sitting behind velvet ropes at tech expos. They are working reception desks in public offices. They are sitting beside elderly residents in care facilities. They are answering questions in retail stores, greeting visitors with warm handshakes, and holding eye contact so naturally that people walk away without ever realizing they were talking to a machine built from silicone and steel. While Silicon Valley continues to focus on building heavy, metallic industrial workers for factory floors, China has quietly built the manufacturing pipeline for synthetic human presence. They realized before anyone else that in a world facing severe labor shortages, aging populations, and rising isolation, the most valuable product you can mass produce is not just a machine that can lift a box. It is a machine that can make a human being feel seen, heard, and cared for. This leaves us with a reality that every company, every government, and every one of us must eventually face. Synthetic humanity is no longer a question of if. It is already here, rolling off assembly lines, and scaling across the globe at a price point that makes widespread adoption inevitable. So, I leave you with one final question. If you walked up to a receptionist tomorrow, shook her warm hand, had a 5-minute conversation, and only realized later that she was completely synthetic, would that unsettle you, or would you accept it as the new normal? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Let us know what you think. Hit that like button and subscribe so you do not miss what comes next.